Hello guys and welcome back to another skill point guide video for Total War Warhammer 3 on Immortal Empires. Today we'll be going over Lokhir Fellheart. Again, thank you Anon234 and your friend group for the suggestion. Appreciate you guys enjoying the videos, and I'm glad I'm able to be of some help during your guys' co-op campaigns. Now Lokhir, even though he does provide quite a few bonuses to the Black Art Corsair units, I personally don't really like them. Their base stats are pretty minimal to begin with. Now he does buff them by a very absurd degree, but the problem with that is if you end up buffing them that much, you usually end up using quite a few of them in your army, and they require a great deal of micromanaging later on, sort of like doing a all cavalry army with Bretonia. Requires a lot of micromanaging. They're not necessarily good against everything. They are very weak to like cavalry prone armies. For example, like the Greenskins, Bretonia, Cathay can field a lot of peasant horsemen at time, or Jade Lancers, depending on how far along they are in their how long you are in the campaign. But jumping in, the first thing I like to do is just grab the Dreaded Slaver. I do that with almost every single Dark Elf Lord. You want to be getting more casualties captured post battle. That way the potential of getting more slaves every battle, at the end of every battle, is much higher. So I do like to grab that. And then very briefly, I do like to go into the red line and get Chief Master, just because I do like their Corsair Hambo units early on in Dark Shards. Mainly the Dark Shards because they are armor piercing, and they just need to help a little bit with their reload reduction time, because again, the High Elves and Dark Elves got their reload time reduction nerfed a few patches back to make them not as overpowered in terms of missile units like they were in Warhammer 2. So that's been changed there. So I do like to grab that. But then actually I do like to come back and finish his blue line. There's nothing really in his melee line because he is strictly a melee lord. It's just a regular melee line. You can't unlock this, I think, until rank 10 or 12. And so I do like to do his blue line because he's got some good stuff in there, and since he's a melee lord, his skill tree is fairly basic, so there's not a whole lot to worry about there. So I do the Iron Disciplinarian just for the control. There's nothing wrong with getting the Server Dire Infamous Raider. It's just personal preference, but I like to grab the control because a lot of times you'll be sacking or looting a settlement to get more slaves or replenishment, so you're going to need a little extra control there. And then just going down the rest of his blue line. Early on, I like to grab the Elven Healing for replenishment. Granted, there are several ways that you can provide extra replenishment, but not every battle later on, like by turn 20, even sometimes a little earlier, you're not going to be in your Black Ark's sphere because he just can't go anywhere. And until you've like moved kind of down to this area where the Black Ark can come down here, and he's traversing the kind of like water canals here, it's going to be pretty difficult for your Black Ark to actually provide that extra replenishment. So I like to grab extra replenishment. You can do, again, down here, anything else you want to do. There's really nothing wrong. Since I like to do some missile-based armies early on with the Dark Elves, I usually grab the Lightning Strike. That way it allows me to deal with the first enemy earlier, like a little faster, gives me a little more time, delays the extra enemy reinforcements, but there's nothing wrong with grabbing some ambush success chance or quartermaster there if you really want to. But I do like to grab the Renowned and Feared for the extra campaign movement range and upkeep though. Now, after finishing the blue line, you should have unlocked his special skills, which I do recommend getting. He's got some good ones. Some more campaign movement range, loyalty, one for recruits faction wide, fantastic. It's a global buff, it's really good, providing 5 more control again in that local province. The Corsair Noble and the Head of the Tide, I bypass these, and it's only because I don't use the Corsair units. Now, if you end up using them, definitely get them. Good leadership, good melee attack, good armor piercing for the Black Ark units, especially with the red line buffs that you can give them, pretty good. But I just don't personally like them. Again, there's nothing wrong with it. I just don't find them enjoyable, so don't do it. I do like to grab the Master of the Blessed Dread. The Black Ark cumulative growth for all armies, fantastic. Income from ports, fantastic. And also the army ability number of uses +1 for Black Ark bombardment, fantastic. So in 2 skill points, we've already gotten 4 faction-wide buffs. Very, very beneficial there. And Slaver I'd just like to grab just for a little extra upkeep, but mainly capturing more casualties, which means more slaves for you. And then that way, you know, which slaves, now that they've readjusted it, just helps you build things a little faster, just like the Chaos Dwarf mechanic. So you can instantly build something or just help with economy. If you see here, when it's 50 more slaves, you get more slave income. Same with growth, that kind of thing. Public order, so on and so forth. So it's really good as Dark Elves to get as many slaves as you can in every single fight. And then the Patriarch of the Fellhearts I really like because it's another faction-wide buff with a Lord Recruit rank +3 all provinces. Very powerful, very good special skill line. I highly recommend going down it. Really good for Lokhir. Now, after going down the blue line and his special skills, depending on what you end up going with, now later in the campaign, I usually end up getting some shades. So I like shades, but it kind of depends what kind of units you end up getting. Do you get some more of their melee? Do you get some of their monsters? It kind of just depends. So personally, instead of going down the red line, because I don't know what I'm going to end up with, I do a melee line, and I just end up getting everything. I do get Indomitable because his leadership at 80 for a lord isn't very high, so I do like to buff that up. And then just finishing out, giving him more armor, more speed, more melee defense, more everything, because why not? And then we still got 11 points to spend. There are still a few things you can do. I like to grab some more of the abilities up here, just buffing him a little bit. Some missile resistance because he does have a dragon mount. Spell resistance as well, since he's a bigger entity. He's going to be picked on a little more. There. Now with the remaining 8, I do come down the red line. I do raid leader. Just from my experience, I really like shades. More melee defense for them, more missile strength. If we check out their stats here, if you haven't used them before, they got really good melee defense stats. Their range is pretty good, their armor piercing, and you can buff their range even more. Or even with the great weapons, their weapon strength also does armor piercing damage, on top of a really good range and missile strength power. I just really feel comfortable with that. Now, I've done campaigns where I've done like dragons and hydras or the infantry. It just depends, but this is just kind of the typical setup that I go with, because I end up using these missile units a lot longer in my campaigns than I do, like, again, the dragons or monsters or higher tier infantry. And I do like to grab the strength through spite just to buff the area of effect, and then the Ravager rewards for that extra range, speed, and armor for the Corsair units and the Shades, so I kind of get a double duo there. And then the Kindle the Fury just buffs up the strength through the spite one a little bit, because I usually end up using masters or having some masters in the army to kind of hold back the enemy as they charge at me, and that just kind of helps with that, providing them some more melee attack and whatnot. Now we still have 2 points left. Just wrapping it up, I usually just kind of finish out Lightning Strike, just because that's how I put it into. Now, if you could do like Quartermaster, if you put a point into Quartermaster earlier, or Fleeting Shadow, it just really depends, up to you. But I just like to delay them a little longer because I have more. Typically, as the Dark Elves, I have more of a missile-based army, so I like to delay the enemy reinforcements. That way, it allows me to either cast more magic or to move up on the battle map and like attack the enemy and weaken them before the reinforcements come in, and just get into a better position. That way too, if their reinforcement time, like the Warriors of Chaos, can reduce it to like 20 seconds, and you're not in a good position to set up, that way it allows you time to at least set up your formation, and that way you can be as prepared as you can be when dealing with loads of enemies. But anyway, that is the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, let me know down in the comments how you guys level them up. I know some of you probably will think I'm going crazy for not getting Corsair Noble and Ahead of the Tide. Totally get it. It's just not what I personally, again, enjoy. But anyway, that's okay. Let me know down in the comments again what you guys think. Don't forget to hit that like button. And until the next video or live stream, I hope you guys have a good one, and I'll see you later. Bye.